Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market. It's our daily show from Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. GMT. We'll be back to our usual schedule, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m., 11 a.m. GMT next week. So stay tuned for that. I'm your host, B-Check. I'm joined by my legendary co-host, Legendary, and Sammy too, who is also legendary also. And we're going to get into everything going on in the NFT market from the past 24 hours, as well as some crypto related news. Because there is movement in the markets, people are worried. We are here to not say everything's going to be fine, but we will talk about it so you can make your own conclusions. Just a reminder, as we do that nothing that we say here is financial advice. This modern market is exceptionally risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Friday. It is the 15th of March. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Doing quite well. We had a very lovely meetup yesterday in London.
Yes.
With the Modern Market crew, or with parts of the Modern Market crew. That was fantastic. Enjoyed it quite a lot.
Yeah,
And
shout out
now,
to the audience members who were with us in London yesterday. Can see Confusion in the audience, can see Alan in the audience too. Very, very nice to meet up with people in real life as well.
absolutely, yeah. And now I'm really looking forward to the weekend. I need to do my favorite thing of portfolio restructuring, arranging assets, moving stuff around, and that takes more and more time every week, I feel.
Yes, that does take a long time. Remember how we said yesterday that sometimes we would do some admin on the show, but there's no time to do that anymore. One piece of admin that I just want to pose out there, throw a question out. We did our first international event in Paris, which was really, really awesome. We did a breakfast and it went really nicely. Attended, I think it was like almost 20 people there in the end, a kind of good mixture of collectors, content creators, artists, traders, a big variety of people. What's our thoughts on Dubai, Legendary? We're both going to be in Dubai. Are we going to do a Dubai event?
100%, yeah. It's
Oh,
going to be a lot of people in Dubai, so definitely want to do an event there as well and
okay.
continue the Parisian tradition.
Okay, sounds good. You heard it here first. We need to start organizing that then. One of the interesting reflections that we found when organizing IRL events is that in London in particular, and I'm sure maybe it's similar to this in most cities, 1 week notice is not enough. We try to do 2 weeks notice. 2 weeks notice is sometimes not enough. So we're going to go with a good like 4 weeks of notice for the next London event, which means we need to tell people when it is going to be like this week. Given that Dubai is going to be at the end of April, Legendary, that means we got our brains got to start thinking towards that then, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Admin done. There's going to be a Dubai event. That sounds pretty fun. Glad to announce that here. Okay, let's get into the NFT market as always. From the headlines and the price action coming from the snapshot, which is pinned up top. If you find that it brings you some value today, please do give it a like. Starting with the price action, everything's down. What the hell is going on? Crypto is down 10%, Bitcoin at 66.2. Now we're going to have to go through the all-time high conversation again. ETH is down 10% as well at 3.6K. Solana down just 3% at 167 when I checked last, although maybe things are still moving there. Things are very volatile, it seems. In terms of the headlines, yep, we've got the crypto majors correcting aggressively. Might want to check the meme coins in just a moment too to see how they're doing. Number two, Dark Farm's BOEM token, which we talked about yesterday as a pre-sale, which launched and kind of zoomed to $45 million market cap very quickly, ran past $300 million market cap in the last 24 hours. I believe it started to correct now, but we'll definitely hear from Sammy on that a little bit to get the further details at some point. And finally, this is pretty big news, which everyone has responded very, very positively to. Parallel announces an AI-powered game. The AI-powered game will be moving to Solana. The Prime token is up 9% to over $20. and there's going to be a new token too. There's going to be a new token called Prompt, and 45% of Prompt will be distributed to prime stakers over 3 years on a monthly basis. So that staking narrative is playing out again. If you stake this token, you're going to get another token. I wonder how that plays out. But at least at the beginning, it's very bullish. But there are genuinely some very interesting things going on with that game. Shout out to Kusho, who's been providing me some context in our Discord. Maybe we'll get him up to talk on that too if he's free. But we've had a little bit of a look in the white papers, which we'll give you some summaries from in just a little bit. Getting into some notable sales, we had a CryptoPunk selling for 56 ETH, Fidenza selling as low as 35 ETH. Pretty low for Fidenzas. I didn't check the details there, but also a parallel prime drive selling for 15 ETH. So pretty good action there on the parallel assets. Some floor prices. CryptoPunk's down 5% at 47.5. Bored Apes down 3% at 13.8. Mutants at 2.2. DGods at 1.3, down another 5%. Captains bouncing up 5% to 4.2. Azuki's down 3% to 3.7. Penguins down a couple of percent, still holding above an 11 ETH floor. Mad Lads steady at 190 sold. They just won't move. And the Nouns winning bid was at 5.3 ETH. Sammy, I forgot to throw to you at the start today. How are you? That was the price action. Those were the headlines. Are there any numbers, anything catching your eye from the notable sales, from the price action on the NFT side of things?
Yeah, I think the obviously the cool off in the market. I think after a massive rally, that makes sense. Like, you can't be up only. I think we knew that this was going to happen at some point. I don't think it'll be for a very long period of time. I think there'll be a reversion back upwards eventually. I tried to have a look around, see if there's any other reasons, and I think there was talk of some options expiring, which could potentially have contributed to it. But outside of that, yeah, certain meme coins seem to be countering that downtrend, which you've noted on as well. So just interesting.
Is it? Yeah. What's your stance on that? Like, all of the majors have been correcting aggressively, but some of the meme coins. I mean, Bohm has corrected a little bit just now as well. But do you think we're just in a period of time where the memes can continue to run? I'm just going to get up on the screen for the people watching, and I'll share as well the kind of basket of meme tokens and how they're doing. But Sammy, what's your reflection on that at the moment?
You have people that have made a significant amount of wealth, and I think it gets to the point where it becomes a trade-off. If it's like life-changing money for you, then you're going to want to take some profits.
Sure.
So it can't be up only. You have to have people with balls of steel for it to go to like $1 billion market cap, and they haven't sold, and they put in tens or hundreds of SOL into the pre-sale. So, I mean, some of the collectors like really love Dark Farm's work, but even so, I think most people would have a price tag at some point as to how much they hold it. But yeah, I think both the NFT collection and the token have cooled off a little bit. I think I'm just watching the chart now. It's broken back through, and it's kind of pushing eventually. It's not far off all-time highs again. But yeah, it's the sentiment, I think, is probably just in that accumulation phase before it decides to pump further or go down a bit more. So it's hard to tell which way it's going to go. But yeah, meme coins are very volatile, and it's very attention focused. So it makes sense as to why it's countering the wider market at the moment.
Okay. That makes some sense to me. I'm just looking. We're going to talk about Bohm a little bit more later. But I'm just looking at the meme bucket list on CoinMarketCap to see how they're doing in general. Dogecoin is down 13% in the last 24 hours. Shiba Inu down 14%. Pepe down 12%. Dog with Hat down 18%. Flocky down 13%. Bonk down 15%. Memecoin down 14%. Mog down 24%. So definitely not immune from this, and have gone down much more aggressively than the others. I guess the conclusion here is the memes have corrected much more aggressively, and the only one that will not do that is the one that is like front and center of everyone's attention, like right here, right now, today, which is the Bohm one, which obviously went parabolic yesterday, but even that started to correct. Legendary, what are your reflections? Is there anything else? We're going to talk more memes in just a little bit. Anything else catching your eye from the NFT market side of things? Price action, crypto? What are you thinking?
Crypto is not really worrying me. Sammy said perfectly. We see a correction. We can go up in a straight line. Obviously, if you want to take some chips off the table, is a good time to do that. But if you're not worried about it and you have a bit more of a long-term horizon, you can decide to not do that. But it's nothing that really worries me, especially if you think about we went from a 0 to a 400 million market cap with Bohm, seen more than $1 billion in volume. That kind of tells you everything about like the state of the market and the greed that we're currently still facing. We had that other token that followed a similar model, Sorry, where the pre-sale just closed 30 minutes before the show. Exactly the same model. Difference being that Beanie and some other people called out the guy doing that. I have absolutely no history with Bombatis, who is the person doing that, so I don't know what they've done or haven't done before. I've seen that more than $1 million have been sent to that wallet. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna ape as well and send some send 10 Solana there myself as well, either going to zero, either doing something. But yeah, market is in a very greedy state, including myself.
Yeah, I guess important to at least point that out. Noticing that it is greedy, noticing that yourself is being greedy as well at the same time. So yeah, we'll see. I also don't know, the person's name rings a bell, but I can't like place them. I'd need to research some more. Sammy,
That's
do you
enough
want
due
to
diligence.
ring a bell?
So
But I don't know if it's
he
good or a
was
bad thing.
so I recognize his name. So he was big into Frentech, but he was, I guess, infamous in the Frentech realm for self-buying, so buying his own keys. Like he bought hundreds of his own keys, pumped his price up. I think some people might have bought in after, and then he dumped on them. And yeah, I think that's self-buying. That's what I remember.
That's where it came from. Shout out to Confusion in the comments, kind of just confirming what you just said. He said Von Betis did a Frentech pump and dump on his keys. LOL. With that said, I did throw in 0.2 as well. Okay, so potential pump and dump. Make sure you're in for the pump. Make sure you get your dump out of the way before the inevitable secondary dump. That seems to be the game you guys are playing. I'm sitting this one out. I'm just gonna, I don't know what I want to do this weekend, just to organize more my portfolio in peace without being scared of someone dumping on top of me. Tom Thomas also just commented saying, yes, Von Betis rugged his token about 4 months ago. Okay. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thanks a lot, Confusion. Great. So we know where we stand there. Legendary is just making a note. Sell ASAP.
Sell quickly.
Okay, well, that's helpful to do that like live research. Appreciate all the people contributing there. Right, before we get to the headlines, what we started to like to do is kind of surface a interesting conversation or just a prominent idea, narrative that's formulating on the timeline. And one that I've picked out today for us to discuss is this tweet by none other than our favorite Solana poster, Ansem. But there's actually two points to this. Maybe we'll talk about the first one, the tweet from Ansem first, but this is quote tweeting another tweet from Moon Overlord. And I kind of want to speak about that as well, because it's making a separate point. So first, Ansem tweeted Solana meme coin March Madness into DeFi spring, into AI and deep in summer. This was also part of the tweet. I don't know if that excitement was communicated effectively, but what do we think about this timeline? And I think it's nice to talk about these things before we get into the headlines, because everyone's always trying to place like, where are we? Are we in euphoria? Are we in this part of the cycle, that part of the cycle? Ansem actually like goes on record and tries to lay it out, and so do some other people. So what do we think on this? Legendary first, meme coin March Madness, into DeFi spring, into AI and deep in summer. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I wanna hear the wee part again. I like that a lot.
Wow, you just did it as well. You did it. As
Wonderful.
Good as
More we.
I like the deepen part of it. I feel like deepen is something that many people are still ignoring. Deepen standing for decentralized physical infrastructure. I think it starts to show more and more, even with launch pads like CDFI. Uh, from the 5 launches that they highlighted in March, 3 of them are deep-in projects, I think.
Just
It's
very, very quickly before like, if people don't know still what deepin is, it's a word that's getting thrown around all the time now. Just quick 1 sentence, 2-liner on what it is, and then continue.
yeah, it's decentralized physical infrastructure. It's basically infrastructure for gaming, for example, where that's like cloud computing that's being built. And now, obviously, that's not a new thing, right? Cloud computing, Amazon, AWS, Google, et cetera, all exist. But that's basically our version of it, adding the word decentralized before it. So if you think about that from the perspective that we have had and have this gaming meta, and now you go to the point where you have the infrastructure that's being more highlighted and more important. This is like the deepened trend that we are starting to see more and more, because people get to the infrastructure level behind their investments.
Okay. Very thoughtful answer. Appreciate that, Legendary. Sammy, what do you think about the timeline? And it seems like you think that there is something else that should be included in it.
So I think those two make sense. I mean, Anthem's predominantly Solana based, and you've got Parallel Alpha, which has got AI integration. So I could see that, and that's going to be on Solana. So you kind of see the argument there for the AI segment, but then also Grass is building a layer 2 on Solana as well. So, and that's deep in. So anyone with a smartphone can set up a node and run that node for effectively bandwidth. So any free bandwidth on your broadband, it can then convert that into Grass tokens, and that's supposed to then feed AI machine learning. That's what it's rumored to say. What it's probably going to be used for, that additional data and stuff. So I think in having it in a decentralized manner, it kind of helps bring together a more balanced data set for those AI machine learning. So you can kind of see how that ties in nicely together. I do think that there's going to be, on top of that, I think there's also probably going to be this DN 404. I think that's probably going to come through as well. So what that essentially is you have your NFTs, but you can, rather than the likes of flooring protocol, where you lock your NFT up and then you effectively have these mu tokens, with DN 404, you can literally convert your NFT into liquidity, and then vice versa by burning the NFT, and it's all within the smart contract. So I think that's gonna come over the next month or so as well, alongside deepin and AI.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I think this 404 thing has probably not gone away, because I think there's some quite prominent players who want to like continue experimenting with it. So I take your point there. Legendary, final thing on this before we switch to the second aspect of the tweet and the question. Like, do you think it even matters, like trying to classify these things like meme coin March, DeFi spring, deep in summer? Like, how important is it, if at all, to speak about it in that way?
Honestly, I think it's super important, because we've seen patterns like that repeating themselves. We've seen DeFi summer on L1. We've seen then a DeFi summer on Polygon, and we've seen patterns repeating themselves on other layer 2 solutions. We didn't have meme coins on L2 solutions. We had a bit of a meme coin run before this meme coin craze right now on some of the L2s. Now it's more in Solana. So observing those patterns and how money flows investment-wise, and trying to see how that could repeat on other blockchains is, I think, a smart thing to do. And I admit that it doesn't apply like always, but having an eye on those patterns and trying to understand those money flows, super relevant.
I love that you mentioned patterns. Like, this is something I've been reflecting on a lot at the moment, and kind of actually reflecting on my personal journey in this space. Like, I historically, when I was younger, was a terrible trader. I thought that I was a bad trader just because I was a new trader. And I guess what needed to happen, and I still don't necessarily see myself as like a great trader. I'm probably more on the investor side as opposed to a trader. But I guess what I needed to happen is I needed to have more time in markets, participate more in markets, to give myself a chance to see patterns more. And like this is something I've been thinking about recently, where I feel like I'm starting to see patterns now for like the first time ever. I actually think I got a little bit lucky in my first cycle with NFTs and like how those things moved, and to some extent, I was kind of fortunate that I just was smart enough to press the sell button sometimes. Um, but now, for the first time, I feel like this pattern recognition I think is important. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's probably one of the, when I reflect, one of the like most important things about all of this, in my opinion. Speaking of patterns, what do you think of this second tweet? Because this is the one that I was thinking about a lot too. And I want to get practical here to give people in the audience listening. I know we've spoken about it before, but again, it's just to reinforce like what the practical conclusions people might come to on the basis of coming to these conclusions is um, Moon tweeted, the more things change, the more they remain the same. It's kind of alluding to like previous history rhyming, but not necessarily. I'm butchering these quotes. I don't know. History rhymes, but it doesn't, I don't know, repeat. Solana equals ETH from the last cycle. Then there'll be DeFi and meme coin summer. Ordinals equals ETH NFTs from the last cycle will go to ridiculous prices. So maybe we've already spoken about Solana being the ETH from last cycle, DeFi and meme coin summer coming there. I don't know if you want to add anything more there, Legendary. But to the second point, ordinals literally equals ETH NFTs from the last cycle will go to ridiculous prices. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's exactly the point that I tried making before, and also connecting that to something that we talked about on another show, where I said ETH NFTs, super convoluted ecosystem. You don't buy a JPEG on ETH just for the sake of the JPEG. You buy it because you think you're gonna get a token, you think you might get an airdrop, you see meme coin season, and you think Peplicators could be a part of that meme coin season. You watch lending markets and see, oh, maybe someone big got liquidated and this might be a good entry point because new interest could get in. And that convolution basically is got to a very, very extreme level, and resetting that is just moving attention, moving narratives, moving money to ordinals, and starting that from zero. And now we're building infrastructure on BTC, et cetera, and then we'll get to the same point as ETH NFTs at some point in the future, and then we will have a shiny new thing to trade JPEGs on. And the very same applies for that Solana, ETH, DeFi, and meme coin logic that Moon made in a post.
Okay. I like it. I like it when you say good things about Bitcoin because, or ordinals, because I kind of agree with that in particular. Although I don't know, it might be a stretch to say one thing I've noticed. So this is where I'd add like a little bit of nuance from my perspective. I think one of the really smart things that collections seem to be doing on Bitcoin, I know it's not every single one, like Node Monks, for example, do have 10K, but I've noticed that a lot of people have scrapped the 10K model. Like they're just not bothering with that. We're not going to do 10K. It's too many. There aren't 10K people who are going to have it. Ultimately, people just buy multiple. So they're going for much more like kind of smaller collections rather than trying to go for as many. And I think on some level, when everyone's so focused on floor price, that huge supply, which I think is maybe proving to be too many at the moment, is hindering a lot of these ETH projects because there's just not enough demand for 10,000. So that's something I've noticed. Sammy, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think ordinals have made a smart decision by kind of ordinal projects reducing the amount of supply that they're coming to the market? And what do you think of that idea that they are going to be the ETH NFTs for this cycle?
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening because I think ETH NFTs, back in March 2021, so when Bored Apes kind of ripped, that was a completely new phenomenon. And I think ordinals, I know they've been around for just over a year now, but I think we're still at that stage where we're getting that consensus that actually they probably are here to stay, and the ordinal protocol is we're getting consensus that is kind of the indexing that people are following. So that has value. And I think things like Node Monks, I know there was comparisons to CryptoPunks. And I think that is the first 10K. was that the first 10K NFT or ordinal collection that's indexed by index or
It's
something
like
like that?
what they tried to say is the first it's first 10K original PFP, original art PFP collection, because technically the Bitcoin punks are earlier inscriptions.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I think, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like people are trying to draw comparisons and things like that. I think my only challenge to it is that will fresh new retail money see it that way? Will those people that have bought these a while ago have that clout to then determine whether that narrative holds? And it just depends how many new people come in and whether those new people with influence kind of dictate that narrative. And I think narratives can be very strong. So at the moment, it makes sense. And I think Sol becoming the meme coin DeFi summer of the ETH experience previously, that makes sense as well. But those narratives can shift, and it depends on who comes in. I think if you have a similar like demographic of the current people and we kind of dictate the narrative, then I think it will. But otherwise, it's hard to tell. It could shift.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. One final question on this before we hit the headlines in full swing. Legendary, where does this leave ETH? Obviously these two particular tweeters are like, look, Bitcoin's got this OG status, a very, very important chain. Ordinals are going to go. On the other side, you've got cheap retail loving Solana meme coin stuff. ETH is still kind of in the middle. Like, is it lost? Does it still have its value? Just a quick point on that before we move on.
ETH still has a tremendous amount of devs working with incredible TVL. I mean, there was the post yesterday that DeFi TVL on Solana had surpassed Arbitrum and is sitting like at 3 billion something.
Oh, okay.
Look at something as Eigenlayer. Eigenlayer by itself has more than 10 billion in TVL. So ETH is not going anywhere. The money and hours of work that have been put into it by devs puts it still in an amazing position.
Yeah. Okay. We seem to keep banging that drum, but I think it's important for me to always ask the question and for that idea to be expressed. If we have anyone new, or just for people to hear that perspective on a routine basis. Okay, let's get into the headlines. I think I want to leave Parallel just for a moment because I just want to deal with Bohm a little bit more, but we won't spend as long as it because we've kind of already touched on it. Look at this. Look at this image. For the people looking in, what a cool image! It's Pepe with its mouth open. It's just such a cool piece of art. Dark Farms really is kind of iconic in the type of art they produce. I don't know how to describe it more than that for the people who are just listening. But interestingly, I don't know if people saw this. The Bohm token, and which stands for the Book of Meme, was also immortalized by Beeple in the last 24 hours, getting its own every day, which is pretty cool. Sharing that for the people watching in on YouTube and X. But that's always pretty cool. A quick rundown of what's happened, and then Sammy, you can tell us anything else that you think might be relevant here. Bohm made history with an epic pre-sale with over 10,000 Solana in 24 hours. It went, I think 5 sexes have now listed it in less than 12 hours of the LP launching. All a testament to Dark Farms and his reputation within the Web3 community. Sammy, anything else you want to add to the Bohm conversation? We obviously like the art, we like the artist. Is this safe for like an artist to be doing this type of thing? Like if you take the other side, it's pretty risky, no?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect an artist to launch their own token, I don't think. So I think that side of things is very new, and I think people even not people Beanie, sorry, actually made a post of the DMs with Dark Farms, and Dark Farms was just honest, and he was like I'm actually quite nervous about this because he's never launched an LP before. Like it actually takes a little bit of skill to work out the pricing and then get the people to back it as well, because the liquidity wasn't locked. So it basically meant that third parties are going to be adding that liquidity and they could pull it at any point. So the way it was done was just different as well. And actually, I think because people rallied around him, that's why it kind of kept that upwards momentum. And that liquidity wasn't pulled because people believe in what he's doing. And I think he put a vote out as well. So he gave 3 options to the community as to what he would do with the token, so all the funds, and the community voted like 90% to the community to effectively have this meme coin, rather than the other 2 options. So I think the approach that was taken, I think that would be very hard to replicate, because I think a lot of it is tied to his reputation, and it's probably a testament to mirroring that. So yeah, and I think the NFTs they've done equally as well. I think they were at 0.05.
That's a good point.
Before the pre-sale, and that literally did a 10x to 0.5, and I think it's cooled off a little bit, but there's not that many listed. And I think I've always wanted to own some, so I picked up a couple, and I think yeah, I think they're just iconic. He's like an OG person in the space. I think the NFT collection was launched back in either 2021 or 2022. So it's been around a bit of time, and he's got a load of other sketches and things, very similar to Boldly and Idis in that sense. And I think, yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know if other creators try and mirror this, whether they do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the chart here, wondering if this is sustainable. I mean, one of the questions that I kind of have as a creator ourselves, right? Like, I mean, look, we're not artists, but we are producing content on a routine basis. Like, is one of the strategies in order to move our core product more to leverage a token purely as an attention play in order to get people to listen to the show more? Like, I think that's a highly dangerous strategy. I don't know all the details of why an artist would or all the thought process for why this token has been kind of brought to the market, but to the extent that this is actually, I mean, it clearly has had an effect on the art, which is kind of wild. Like, right, the token price is going wild, right, let's go and buy some of his art now. Like, are those people who have always wanted to buy the art and just bought it because the attention has risen, it's like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do that, let me go and do that now? Or is it people, well, the token's moving up, let me buy the art because that's probably going to move up, then I'm going to sell that as well, and then it's all just going to come crashing down in a little bit of time? Like, that's where my reservation is here. Legendary, would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, very much share that reservation with you. I think we've seen that play out with Podogos a bit. They saw the pump on Nick pumping to 11 Solana. I think yesterday corrected down to 7 because people were like, oh, there's a secondary effect, might have missed the entry point on Nick, but maybe the main collection, which is the official product of that team, will pump. And I think that's a very similar thing that we're seeing here. Obviously, that's an artist. There's people who like the work and see this as a chance to collect it. But I think I see a lot of parallels between this and Bodogos/Nick.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but literally just talking of Bordeaux is a great comparison in some way because of the way that the attention has been flowing towards the Nifty team in the last week or so. But look at this chart. Like, so here, this is where the chart was. It had been like grinding down for a really long time. It was as low as 4.8. Then the attention started to hit, went up to 6 something, 7 something. Then it rose to over 10. Now it's back down to 6.8 again, which is still, I guess, technically like 50% higher than what it has been before, which is not insignificant. But it just shows you the nature of the kind of market we're in now, where people are really, really aggressively trading attention. When it's there, it will be up, and then when it's gone, it will disappear. Great comparison there with the Bodogos. I don't know if you have any reflections on those actual numbers, Legendary.
Nothing to add to that. I think that is perfectly applicable for many more plays like that we will see in the future.
Okay. Very interesting stuff there. Let's get on to the parallel stuff, because I think this is really, really interesting. So the TLDR on parallel, which for a little bit of context from me, a little bit of TLDR from Loopify, then I'm going to throw to Legendary to dive in a bit more. Parallel has been around for ages. Like, Parallel has been releasing these NFT games since the previous bull market. Attracted a lot of attention, was really, really popular back then. That's the background. Have continued to build, has clearly been one of the kind of favorites of the timeline, in the sense that they've always, as a team, projected an element or significant amount of competence. People believe in them. They think they're doing good work. And they came out with this news today. I'll just share the TLDR from Loopify, and then Legendary can take over with the more details. It is that the Parallel Colony game is going to be releasing on Solana. They've introduced Wayfinder, a new AI-focused omni-chain tool. Some key words there. Omni-chain. We like omni-chain. We like AI stuff. So that is probably getting people excited. The native AI token launch. The token will be called Prompt. So that's the ticker. And 45% of Prompt will be distributed to Prime stakers over 3 years monthly. And just for a little bit of context as well, the Prime token has been related to the Parallel team for a while. That has risen to over $20 now, when for a long time in the bear market it was like $2. So it's basically already done a 10x from where it was. Legendary, what is going on with this kind of Wayfinder new AI focused omni-chain tool? How is the Parallel game progressing, and what do you think about this new token dynamics with the Prime token?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Parallel, one of the few gaming projects from the last cycle to still be relevant. Remember back then when the first card packs were sold or minted, and I bought a couple of those, and you basically had insane odds of pulling valuable cards in every pack. You had packs that had more than one card with a value above 10 ETH in there. That was absolutely ridiculous, but still managed to maintain the attention and to keep working on the game. And what we've also seen with that white paper release, that you also have the parallel avatars, which at first dipped like from a 0.93 to a 0.78 floor, because people probably just saw the headline, oh, Solana, new token, what is going on? And then they started to digest the white paper a bit more. And then you saw the floor price going ballistic from that 0.78 ETH floor that had dipped to back up to 1.3 ETH. Because with the colony, you will have a couple of new things and features introduced. So basically, you will pay in Prime to mint new avatars. The avatar collection will be extended. There's also going to be a breeding mechanism for avatars within the colony. To breed, you need existing avatars as well as Prime. When the avatar is progressing, the underlying colonies become wealthier and wealthier. Your colony can be attacked, but in an equal fashion. You can also raid other colonies. And the rewards from that game are based on 4 things, which is the number of NFTs that you're holding, a skill-based matchmaking rating, keyframing multiplier, and the win streak that you're maintaining. Interesting also that there's a free-to-play version of it where you won't be able to earn Prime or retain the items that you're earning in-game or minting NFTs, and obviously like the paid version of that. And I think it took the market a bit of time to digest and info and kind of understand how that breeding mechanism fits in, and not like only think about, oh, the collection is going to get bigger, let's dump avatars. And then with all the mechanisms as well as the new token that you just referenced, the sentiment immediately flipped more bullish. And for those who want to read a bit more on that summary that I was reading from is from Raiden's Gaming Chronicles, from GG Chronicles.
So hang on a second. The market basically, I'm looking at the parallel avatars right now, and are you saying the market didn't understand first, so dumped the tokens, but then they're up 20%?
Yeah. But like when it came out, there was like an immediate dump, and then there was like a pump. So that's my reading of it. Maybe you just got the gist of it, the headline, shit, collection is growing bigger, let's dump it. And then you read a bit more about it and you were like, oh, actually avatars are still playing an important role, or an even more important role. Flip back bullish again and buy them again.
Okay. That actually, although it sounds kind of odd, it makes perfect sense that people didn't read the documents properly first, and actually just proves over and over again why this market is so good to operate in, because it's so inefficient. Like, people are not taking in all the information properly, at the time. So if you're one of the people that does do that, you just stand to be at such a significant advantage. Okay, very cool. So yeah, just for the people to know that actually the avatars are up 20% on the day as well. So I think the market is responding very well. I just want to check the prime price as well to give you that. Um, the prime price is also up 12%. That's gone above $21 now. If you look at the prime chart, it's just gorgeous. Up 100% in the last month. Look at the year. Look at that. That is what you want to buy. That's a bear market buy for you. $2.20 in the summer of last year. 10x already. Pretty nice. Okay, Sammy, I know you wanted to maybe come in on this as well. Are you able to speak a little bit to the gameplay? One of the things that I learned, you can take this in whatever direction, but as someone who's not a gamer, I thought it's pretty cool that one of the things that they're doing is it's not always you playing the game. The whole point of this AI aspect is that your AI is trained to kind of play the game for you, and you're kind of the invisible hand moving them along. But basically, they're playing while you're not playing, if that makes sense. Any thoughts on that? Any other thoughts from when you were reading the documents and you think that's important for people to know?
Yeah, I think I mean AI is going to become a bigger part of gaming. I think for me, it's probably around stimulus. Like traditionally, NPCs and gameplay has been pretty limited, and you kind of conquer it, and there's no real incentive to continue playing. But if you've got a machine that's continually learning and evolving, it's
Yeah.
almost like playing against other players, and that's kind of where the stimulus comes in. So I think for me personally, I mean, I played AI Arena recently, so that alpha thing, joined a team, started training my AI robot, and then you kind of let it auto battle against another one based on how many hours you put in to train it and stuff. And I found that quite interesting. And I can imagine this is probably going to be a similar thing where you kind of have those NPCs sort of learn to evolve, and then it just keeps that gameplay stimulating, and you build that colony. I did see the game loop that I wasn't really like fully across. Like you continue playing it, building the colony until it collapses, and then you repeat. And that's something that I was trying to work out a bit more about. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting direction that gameplay is going to go, and I think it could probably take off. And I think it solidifies that need for blockchain as well, because the fact that you can create these, I mean, I'm assuming that the parallel avatars will level up or something, and that will be reflected in the metadata of the NFT. I don't know whether that's going to be the case, but that kind of makes sense to have it as an NFT, and then that data stored and solidified on the blockchain, and then you can trade that asset based on how it's leveled up. And I think that's probably the direction that a lot of gameplay is going to go. Whereas I think the traditional gaming avenue of having these machine learning NPCs within the game, if players are unable to extract it from the game and then sell it on, then it kind of, they might get a little bit, I don't know, cold feet and want to explore other avenues of doing that and capitalizing on that upside, so through blockchain. So yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly something I'm going to keep an eye on, but I don't know if I personally chase the pump. I think it's pumped quite a lot significantly recently. And I don't know buying in at the avatars now, because they've been at 1 ETH for a long time. If you look at the chart, it's pretty much been at that 1 ETH mark for a while.
Yeah.
So either it does still concern me that you might end up getting more on the market eventually, and it does remind me of the CyberKong's minting mechanism of minting babies, where you have like 500 banana, you then create a baby Kong, and then you can kind of then sell that, and that became a big hype. And it's the same with EtherOrcs when that minting process with Zug was going through. So I kind of see that same mechanic being integrated into Parallel, where people are going to want to get these avatars early on, but as more are minted, then it could effectively drive that price down.
Okay, so they're going to need to do a good job on making sure demand keeps increasing as the supply is naturally increasing as well. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's very interesting. What I want to do now is definitely want to go to Kusho, because Kusho has been singing Parallel praises for quite some time. Want to hear from Kusho's reflections. Then we're going to do the Web3 roundup, and then Legendary, you mentioned some kind of spring cleaning of your portfolio. Want to, in the last few minutes, just do a little bit of personal reflections on what's catching our attention, what we're cutting, what we're thinking about in the last 5 minutes or so of the show. So Kusho first, welcome to the stage, my friend. What are your thoughts on the parallel news. Seems like the market's reacted pretty excitedly. How are you feeling about it?
It's a good day. It's a good day. We're having a fantastic day. The sun is shining. My elbow is healing. My muscles are healing. Nature is healing. All around sunshines and rainbows right now. I mean, it's a lot happening. I was coincidentally awake when the white paper came out, and I just dived straight headfirst into it, read it. Then I kind of got started on the way find out white paper as well. Kind of read the summary of that one as well, and I'm super excited, to be honest. I'm very, very excited. Like, my words don't do justice to how excited I am.
Okay,
I'm just trying
why
to say it
excited,
right now.
Kusho? Why though?
So the reasons why I'm pretty excited about this is because you can already see from the way the parallel TCG works that this is a team that delivers consistently. Like, they've put out things that are working, they've put out projects that are working. All their NFT assets are being used in one way or the other. These are very valuable assets. They don't have anything in their ecosystem that is currently redundant. Everything is currently useful. And a good way to exemplify this is that even before you can stake Prime, which you can't do now, you can also stake the previous asset that had come out before, the Prime drives and some other assets. And those will probably put you in a better position for maybe qualifying for airdrops for prompt. So in addition to that, it's like the way Colony is about to release itself is that I think there's going to be a lot of interoperability between Colony as a game and Parallel TCG, in the sense that when you play Parallel TCG, you can earn from it as well by having NFTs. The same model that they have for Colony, the same model that they have for TCG, and we see it working well in the TCG. The only sweet integration here is that your Parallel avatar then has some level of links to your wallet that you use for the TCG, and can then also make use of Prime that you earn as a result of the TCG, which is very interesting. It's very interesting the way the two games kind of interplay into each other. And the other thing that has me kind of curious is the amount of chains that they are currently integrating into their ecosystem. So like the NFTs for the TCG are on Base, the parallel avatars are on ETH, and then now we have like Colony being built on Solana. So you can kind of see them leaning toward the direction of pushing composability as a thing. And that's not something that many projects are doing right now, especially when you cross from EVM chains into Solana. And I'm really curious and excited to see how that plays out, to be honest, especially with the AI avatars currently able to like carry out their own transactions, mine Prime, sell Prime, create digital assets, sell them and trade them as well. So the kind of kicker here is that you can make a lot of money from both parallel games without necessarily being an active player and stuff like that. So that's what has many people really excited right now.
Okay, that very final part is I actually find really fascinating. Although I would add one caveat, and we're going to get into the Web3 roundup in a second, and then hear from Legendary. But like the one caveat is like, okay, I guess you can make a lot of money from your AI avatar, but I suspect you can also lose. Like your AI avatar will be equally able to make you money as well as lose you money, because
absolutely, because you can get attacked, like Sammy said, you can get attacked by another colony, and that does lead to you losing digital assets as well. So you can make money, you can lose money. Yeah, pretty much.
There you go.
I mean, what's the fun of it if you only make money?
Definitely a fun dynamic. I don't know what you would do if you were unhappy with your AI agent. Like, what's the punishment? Do you punish yourself? Like, do you? I don't know. It's just a new paradigm. Like, what do you do? Who do you blame? Yourself or the AI? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out as we move forward. But let's keep it moving. Thanks so much for that insight, Kusho. Really, really helpful to understand a bit more about the game, which I do think is increasingly, if it isn't a big deal, it's definitely perceived as a big deal on the timeline. So helpful to have that download of information. Let's get to the Web3 roundup before we hear a bit of spring cleaning of portfolios information towards the end of the show in the last 5 minutes. Web3 roundup, as always, in the snapshot pinned up top. If you find it brings you some value, please do give it a like today. Number one, the Nifty announces Choose Rich t-shirt pre-sale as Choose Rich Nick continues. Super virality does seem like it's dying down a little bit in comparison to where it was before. The ticker is certainly not performing as well as some of the other things. As we mentioned, Bodogos has kind of retraced as well, but the team keep crushing the content. So there's a cool t-shirt there, maybe to memorialize this moment in time. Number 2, Runestone begins its 112,383 inscription airdrop. This is on Bitcoin. The runestones will be mined and distributed to the year 1 ordinals community in 81 batches of 1,400 over the next 48 hours. People expect big things of this runestone airdrop. Number 3, Quantum Cat representing a Taproot wizard sells for 1.8 Bitcoin at Sotheby's. Number 4, President of El Salvador moves $406 million worth of Bitcoin to what he just called a Bitcoin piggy bank in a physical vault within the national territory. That's a bit of a flex on the timeline. I think the president's feeling pretty happy with himself with his Bitcoin buys at the moment. And then the market sold off straight after that. So that's good news. Getting into some more news, Portal Coin announces Portal is currency on premier NFT marketplace Magic Eden. This is pretty big news, I thought. Portal is now fully integrated into Magic Eden. Every NFT on Magic Eden will be purchasable in Portal. Portal isn't just a token powering Web3 gaming. This is from the team where they say we're making sure it's the token for all creators and collectors as well as gamers. Pretty big news. And finally, Pack Meme Coin launches on Blast and settles at a $14 million FTV. That was when I last checked after a quite significant initial sell-off. If you haven't claimed your Pack tokens, if you are a Blast depositor, you will have an allocation, and the link is in the snapshot, which is pinned up top. Legendary, that is the Web3 roundup. That is the other news from everything else that's happened in the past 24 hours. You mentioned that over this weekend, you're looking forward to some weekend spring cleaning of the portfolio. How are you thinking about everything at the moment? Obviously, numbers are moving around so quickly and dynamics are changing. Portfolio allocations are like swinging when different things come in. So like what's on your mind at the moment, and what are you up to in that respect?
Okay, there are 2 goals for the weekend. One is get an overview of my overall stable position. I've been talking to Moritz and Hunter yesterday to see where all of our stables are, and I realized I'm not sure about how many stables I have and where they are and what they are doing, and I couldn't even tell you how much of my stable allocation is farming something and how much is just chilling in a vault.
Yeah.
So I want to get an overview of that. And the other thing is I do want to move more things to like my cold vault, so stable a bit more, move some ETH there, and just take those chips off the active investing table in a sense. And I just realized that Rabbi had an update that is, I think, came out today, or I don't know, but I've seen it only as of today, where now you can, for example, see your Portal coin vesting within the Rabbi app.
That's
so
cool.
You basically see how much you can claim, you see how long the vesting will go. And I know this sounds like a sponsored segment, and I wish it were, because Rabbi sponsoring us would be amazing, because I really love the wallet, but it's not sponsored. We just found that to be a super, super helpful feature, since I'm the one here who does investments and does not have a spreadsheet to have an overview, as opposed to UB, and probably also as opposed to you, Sammy, definitely more organized than me. So I'm happy when those tools can help me do that.
Yeah, that's really good. Shout out to Rabbi, who should sponsor us, because Legendary says it's honestly one of the best wallets. But also, I think they've actually taken that idea from Phantom, who are also a good wallet on Solana. Because I remember Phantom did this thing where for the wormhole airdrop, it said like you are eligible for wormhole. I think they did it with Jupiter as well. This wallet is eligible to claim the Jupiter claim. Go there and do that. I think that's really interesting. That the ratio between, you're trying to figure out the ratio of stables which are just purely stable versus how much you've got farming, because I guess ultimately the farming stables are still have protocol risk, right? So it's a useful number to know what proportion of your stables are under some type of protocol risk and what are completely clear. Well, completely clear as in being in USDC, but also we had the bank run last year where we didn't even know if that was okay. So maybe there's 3 proportions you need to know, like what is in the bank account, what is in the cold vault, and then what is the protocol risk stables. That's kind of an interesting thing to try to get on top of. I like that idea. And then Sammy, what about you? What's on your mind for the weekend? How are you getting on top of your portfolio? Any particular plays you think you need to execute?
So I'm going to go and watch June tonight.
Okay.
So have some time off, go out, catch up with some mates, and watch June. So that'll be my Friday. But I do think tomorrow I probably will have a little reallocation of my spreadsheet, just try and work out where everything is, and I think probably monitor BOEM a little bit. But yeah, I think otherwise, yeah, it's a bit more chilled this weekend, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Sounds good. Hopefully everyone else is having a chilled or exciting weekend in whatever capacity. The market has obviously been a bit crazy the last few weeks. Feels like it's cooling off at least a touch for the day, but we will be back with you on Monday now. We've come to the end of today's show. So have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday. Thank you as always to my co-host Legendary and Sammy. Thank you to our speakers Oxy and Kusho. And thank you all for joining us as always. We'll be back. And remember, the times, daylight savings is causing us all kinds of issues. Next week, we will be back at 7 a.m. Eastern time. However, 11 a.m. GMT. So that will be the time. We'll be back live on X, live on YouTube. And we will see you then. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.